back when I started auditioning, like 25 years ago, I would go into these rooms, man. There would be, I swear to God, there'd be like hundreds of guys that look just like me. You know what I mean? Like they could be family up for gigs. And then 5 years later, it was like half that many. 10 years later, it was half again. Until now, I go into rooms, I see the same 10 guys all the time for things, you know. Now, granted, the last year we haven't really been going in to audition much, but that was my experience up until COVID. Is you would see the same guys, and you become, you know, you're all family men. You all have, most of them have families. Most of them have been at it for 25, 30 years, and they're the ones that need it. They're the ones that are like, this is who I am. And the people that come out to just kind of be famous, they peel away. They last a couple of years, they go back home, and they go move on with their life. And it was an experiment for them, and that's cool. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that, to me, if you have a dream and you persevere and you don't take no for an answer, and you double down on yourself, and you keep putting money into that investment. And by money, I don't mean money. I mean, like, you just keep investing in yourself and investing in the mission and the dream. There's no way you can lose. There's no way you can lose. I've literally never heard this story of somebody who was like, yeah, man, I had this passion for acting, and I went to Hollywood, and I put in like 40 years, and I just like auditioning and studying and like put my heart and soul into everything I did, and I just literally never worked. I never booked anything. It's like, it doesn't happen. Because the people that are built that way, success comes to them, because that's who they are, you know. And there's enough. And by the way, now there's enough work for all of us, man. They're like, I don't know now with COVID and everything, but as of a year ago, there were 500 different productions and then some in production. 500. There's work. You know, there's work for guys that look like you, for guys that look like me, for guys and girls that look like everybody. And thank God that that's breaking open, and more people are getting opportunities, you know. But I just feel like the one thing that I like to impart to people when I teach, when I mentor people, is like, double down on yourself, persevere. Don't let L's or failures or like rejection, because, you know, we're in a business of rejection, right? You know,
we hear no more than any other business, bro. We hear that word no more than any other industry.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically professional, you know, interviewers or interviewees, I guess. We, you know, most people get out of college with a degree, and they go on whatever 10, 15 interviews, and they get a job, and they're in that job for 10, 15 years. Maybe some people have the same job for their whole life, right? We're in a business where we've auditioned probably, I mean, what, 1,000 times? 1,000?
Yeah,
maybe more. And if you're lucky, you get what, like 3% of those? Maybe, probably not even that. You know,
how have you adjusted, like, obviously from before doing the in-person auditions to now the self-tape that's like more in the Zoom auditions? Like,
well, you know, what I have done is I've certainly taken a lot more risks, because the thing that I know is that if you give an actor the opportunity to film themselves and then edit it and then send it in, everybody's going to get the best take that they can, right? And so you got to really throw down in your self tapes, and you have to go above and beyond and use everything you have. And, you know, I'm not talking about being unprofessional. I'm just talking about, you know, give them an experience, and, you know, don't shy away from being bold and being, you know, interested in the material, because how the hell do you stand out when the decisions are all made via, like, somebody's on their phone or on a little laptop and going, nope, 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 nope. I mean, it's disheartening. It's disheartening a lot of times, because sometimes you'll do like 10 self tapes and you won't hear anything. Not even from your agent or manager. You just don't hear anything. It's just
So
silence.
what keeps you going when you don't hear that? So, like when you get that silence, like what? Because I know obviously, you know, certain people, like, you know, as you said, like the business is not built for everybody, and people,
Yeah.
you know, they burn out. What has kept you going for this time?
Man, I'm such a dreamer. I'm such a dreamer that every it's like I have a it's not an addiction. That's because I don't have an addictive personality, but it's it's like every time there's an audition in
Mm-hmm.
front of me, it's like a scratcher. It's like a lottery ticket, right? Like you might win. Chances are you're not going to. Chances, odds in terms of the odds. But in your mind, you're like, hey man, I'm still gonna. If I gave you a lottery ticket, are you not gonna scratch it? I'm not talking about like the big Powerball. I'm talking about the ones that you scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck is gonna look at it and go like, eh?
True. I love the
You know what I
scratchy
mean?
ones better. Yeah.
Yeah. Or scratch off, or like a shitty audition would be, you just kind of scratch off half of it, and you go like, eh. And you don't even like really, you don't really. And so for me, man, I'm gonna take a quarter and I'm gonna make sure everything is off of that card and go like, shit, I didn't get it, but I did everything I could, right? I'm just making up some weird analogy, but I think it's pretty accurate, because every audition is a potential gig. And even if I have 100 auditions and it's radio silence, man, it's frustrating as fuck, but you have to just go, the 101st comes out and you got to treat it the same way you treated the first one, because that might be the thing that's your power. You know, that might
What
be the
for
thing.
you? What attracts you to like for example, either a certain skill? Like what attracts you? Like, do you have certain scripts that you're
To
attracted to,
Well, at this point,
or
you know, I
stories?
really, yeah, you know, at this point, I'm interested in really, it's more about the work, the workflow and the work for me. I want to, my next thing is not so much about character or like what kind of characters I want to play. It's more about I really want to produce, and I really want to do material that I'm excited about, that I feel like is marketable, but that I'm also really excited about, passionate about. And I want to do it with people that I love. Like I feel like I'm
Mm-hmm.
at that place in my career where I have enough of, like you were saying earlier, it's like you got to have a network, right? And I feel like I have enough of a network that I can put puzzle pieces together and raise funds and make some incredible work, you know?
Well, as you
And
know,
that to me is exciting.
as you said earlier, like as you said, you know, and like now when it comes to agents and they're looking, you know, at your Instagram, and this is why I always tell people, like in my classes where I'm like, I'll tell students, I'm like, look, the days of just being an actor are over. Like you can be an actor, but if you want to have longevity, you better be damn good. But if
Yeah.
you want to have longevity where you can have real longevity, you've got to think outside the box. You've got to think of producing, directing, writing, and having your own platform per se to build your network, as you were saying. And like to you,
Your
like
branding, right? It's branding.
it's branding. So for you, like what would you say the differences, even before Cooper Sachs, even before you landed that role, what would you say the difference is for you as an actor in your story from when you started to now, and also as you worked in film and you're now on prime time, what did you find as the harder medium?
Um, to me, TV is, in a way, is more difficult. Um, Although a lot of the films I've done have been extra difficult, because it's like, hey, we've got 20 days to shoot, you know, 2 hours of material. And so sometimes you're up against production, and that can be stressful. Whereas TV is a little more, you know, methodical because
Mm-hmm.
they have a structure and a format, and it's kind of like laid out for you. Whereas with film, sometimes you're kind of, it's all hands on deck, and you're just kind of scrambling to get something in the can. Um, but I think to me, they're pretty similar. I think it's more a matter of knowing what movie or what TV show you're in. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen those scenes where you see an actor that you're like, wow, you're in a different movie than the rest of
Mm-hmm.
these people. And, eh, and so I feel like it's riding that line of bringing different colors and different, like I said earlier, different instruments to the symphony, but at the end of the day, making sure that you're in the same movie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. I think that's really important. Um, I I think in some ways I mean, listen, power's been the most incredible thing in my career, and hands down, hands down. And I would do it for the rest of my life. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would.
You're like
I
a
love
cat
it,
on that show, bro. You're at like
right?
11 lives now.
I know, but I am excited about the future because I do feel like there are going to be some exciting opportunities for me to branch out, to play some different characters, some stuff that. And the other thing that's interesting is like I'm so not like Cooper Sacks in my
That's what I was
life.
going to ask you. What would you say the difference is between Shane Johnson and Cooper Sacks if they were to meet in the bar?
Well, the similarity is that I try to like bring humor and kind of try to look at things a little bit askew in my life. Like that's just who I am. But I as a human, Shane Johnson is I operate from a place of empathy and from love for my family, for my friends, and I love nothing more than to see people win. And a Cooper Sacks is more of a, how do I get ahead? How do I make my family like me? How do I get the accolades? He's just kind of a bit more strategic and cutthroat and willing to bend his ethics in order
Mm-hmm.
to accomplish his goal. Shane is not. And I also think that Cooper is somebody that kind of has a bit of a solitary existence. He's kind of created a world where he's alone in a lot of ways, and Shane is like surrounded by love and by great people. I will say, going back to something I think that's important is for those of us that are a little older, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm 45. So for those of us that are a little older, and are artists or in this business, it's so important that we just suck it up and figure out Instagram and figure out whatever it is that we need to figure out so that we can be, because a lot of people resist it. They're like, well, I don't need to do that shit. I don't. And it's like, dude, that's where we're headed.
I hate
Because
it, but I was forced to. I mean, literally, I hate social media, but we have to because it's part of the game. Unfortunately, it can be toxic. It can be
it
very
can
very
be toxic.
toxic and very time consuming.
Yeah.
I over the years I've limited my use to it, but it's a vessel. It's part of the vessel now of the business. So like for you, like obviously, you being a family man, your wife obviously being in the business as well.
Yeah.
How
Keely's the
have
best,
you
yo.
guys been able to balance both? Because again, you see so many people that are in this industry where you got two people in the same game, and usually those relationships don't last very long.
Right.
Because it's a constant chase of not being seeing each other. So how for you have you guys been able to sustain such a beautiful relationship, a beautiful family, and maintain, and especially for other actors that are starting off on their journey and they're in a relationship and the sacrifice. What advice would you give them, and how have you made it work?
Well, that's a great question, man. I think that's really important in this industry, in particular in this industry. For me, the magic has been this.